All right, everyone. So this is a 7-day online course, and it is sticking it to self-sabotage. And this course I felt was really important to teach at this time because in all things that I do, in all things that I teach, I feel like all the things that seem to come up on a consistent basis is self-sabotage for my clients. And even in my own life, it has come up numerous times. So I'm really excited to teach this course and offer you something to really give you tools and tips and techniques and a different perspective on how to eliminate self-sabotage in your life. Now, remember, anything that you do or to change your life or change a habit is something that takes practice, it takes consistency, and with due diligence and continuing on, you can absolutely make it possible. So for this particular course, again, the reason why I wanted to do it is because so many people are struggling with self-sabotage. It's a big deal. It's a big thing for people. And I think it's something that we should all be aware of and really take advantage of, understanding how it works in our life so that any goal that we set, we can overcome. And I think that we don't realize how common self-sabotage is. So if you are watching the recording today, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat on the platform here. Introduce yourself to anyone that might be joining. And of course, you can absolutely share with what you would be eliminating as far as self-sabotage in your life. If you could eliminate it, what would you be doing? Because that's the dream. That's the goal. If we could get rid of this nuisance, what would we be doing? What would we achieve? So I'd love to hear you guys share, and you can also share in our private online community as well. So I think that before we start here, I'm going to go just over a little bit of disclaimer, and then of course share a little bit about my background and who I am. Biggest thing is, of course, in this program, when I'm doing any coaching with you one-on-one or throughout this online, if you are here live tonight, just so you're aware, I do not diagnose, we do not treat, I don't give medical, financial, relationship, or legal advice. So this program is geared for people who are working with a lot of support, who are ready for change, and who are not necessarily looking to change anything as far as heavy drug, alcohol, or pharmaceuticals, or if they have any life or mental health instability. I know that when we're trying to make change, it can be something that is common with self-sabotage, to try to start a program or try to start something when we're really not ready, when there's a lot going on, maybe in our personal life. And we'll talk about more about how that actually, again, sets us up for self-sabotage. We're like, I'm trying to do this, but there's so many other things that happen. So if there are things going on in your life where there is any, instability in a pace where you don't feel safe, there's a lot of emotional ups and downs, this may not be the right time to do this program full force. It absolutely, you can take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and use support and work with a coach or a counselor, but make sure that you have that support. So that is, of course, our disclaimer for the program. And then, of course, who am I? So if you have not met me before and are curious about what I do and how I got to be here, my name is Kara Lovehart, and I am an integrative intuitive medium. So what that means is, of course, I am someone who talks to the dead. I talk with people who have crossed over, but I integrate my intuitive senses, and I use that mediumship as far as medical intuition in private sessions for coaching, in body work. I am a licensed massage therapist in the state of Pennsylvania, and I offer reflexology and integrative energy healing, as well as a wonderful modality called esogenetic color puncture, which is acupuncture without needles, and more functional style life coaching. So really, I feel like I'm more of like an inspirational medium. Yes, I talk to the dead. Yes, I work with the aura and I work with the in medical intuition, but it's really taking everything that I know and putting it into one particular type of service or session so that I can help clients really overcome their hurdles. And the reason why I really felt called to do this was because, it's so beautiful to be able to give hope and healing for people, when to connect with someone who is on the other side, and to give people really amazing information about their life. And hey, what color is your aura? What does that mean about you? It's fun. It's really uplifting and fun to get to know yourself in that spiritual sense. But what I really felt called to do is help my clients really live their best life. And that's one of the things that makes me a little bit different as a medium. Sometimes people say, well, I go to that psychic or I go to that medium or they go to my body worker for just working on these things, but, get myself out of pain, or maybe I'm just going to go see them once a year to get an update on my life. But I don't really want to continue to do that. As a medium, I made a decision years ago that helping people is my calling, but helping them to thrive is more fulfilling to me, because I know a lot of my fellow colleagues are amazing readers, amazing psychic professionals that people come to them. They come to them once a day or once a week. I'm sorry. Excuse me. They come to them once a year or something like that. And once a week would be excessive, just so you know. But it's something that I didn't feel like they were always empowering. Sometimes you can give away your power to an intuitive professional and feeling like they have all the answers. And for me, my goal is to help with everything I offer. This course and anything I offer is to help my clients become empowered in themselves, to follow their intuition, to work myself out of a job, so to speak, because I want to connect people directly to their higher power, to their source, and that they only go to someone like me if they need something, they're emotionally connected to something that they can't get clarity for themselves. That's really what I feel is a balanced way of utilizing an intuitive professional. And that's what I'm here to do. Again, to integrate all I do. That's why I call myself an integrative intuitive medium, to integrate all I do so I can help empower my clients, not just give them readings and, give them information about their relationship and their life and their health, but give them steps and processes and tips for them to really utilize action steps and tools to actually get to where they want to go. So that's really a little bit about who I am. Now, as far as my journey, I'll share briefly about that. It's very important to share this because self-sabotage comes up in all of these things. If you are really looking to detox your life, and in this particular program, my Mind Body Detox program, we're looking at helping you to overcome toxins, as I call them, or things that are toxic in your life that are holding you back. So when it comes to your mind, your body, and your spirit. So as far as mind stuff, that's like your self-esteem, and that's how your mindset works, and your maybe mental blocks that you have. As far as your body, that can be anything in the physical form that is blocking you from your dreams, your goals, living your best life. And then as far as spirit goes, that's anything in the energy field, anything that's blocking you as far as your energy imbalances, being overly sensitive as an empath, being lack of connection to your own intuition or to your faith. So those are things that really are needing to be integrated when we are trying to live our best life. So my journey has taken me on so many different paths as far as detox. And that's why, of course, I live this lifestyle. The program Mind Body Detox is, of course, a set of steps to really look at yourself from a whole perspective. And it is something you can go through once or twice, but most of the people who go through this program, it becomes a lifestyle for them because they understand it's not just a program, it's actually a way of living. It's a way of living to be able to integrate in health in your mind, body, and spirit. So along that journey that you're taking today, you're taking a journey to overcome and detox self-sabotage. On that journey, there are many facets of how that may come up, and many different quote unquote toxins or things that might be holding you back in your life. So along my journey in the mind realm, I've definitely overcame some toxic relationships, low self-esteem. I used to be very introverted. I used to be very overweight. I lost over 100 pounds, and I used to be, I had again, toxic relationships, and I lived in a sort of an abusive relationship. So I had not really an ability to see who I really was and what I could offer the world. I did deal with a lot of brain fog due to the diet I was engaging with, the foods I was engaging with, I should say. I did struggle with some mental health issues, anxiety and depression, and also being an over nurturer. So that is a lot of the people that I work with. A lot of people I work with are helpers and healers, and they are over givers and over nurturers. And we will talk more about that today, because that actually comes up as a way that we sabotage our dreams and our goals through the action or behavior of over nurturing others and not giving to ourselves. So we'll talk more about that. Of course, another way that we are talking about today that we can need to detox is self-sabotage. So that's one that I've worked on for years, and it still comes up. So I want you to remind you that it's not something that for me is completely gone. It's just not as hidden. It's so apparent when it comes up, and then I can have action steps to take to see it lurking in the corner and say, hey, self-sabotage, what are you doing there? I see you. Let's move on. So that's what my goal is to help you with today. Money mindset is another thing you can absolutely work on. And then, of course, I'll go in the body here and the spirit, just kind of so we can move on. But as far as from the physical form of detox, my journey's taken me on getting rid of sugar and candida. Again, I lost a lot of weight. I definitely had a lot of emotional eating. I was a smoker. I definitely had some food allergies and sensitivities, and a lot of people really struggle with getting rid of gluten and dairy because they're on, I mean, America's favorite food is pizza, gluten and dairy, right? We love that stuff. But that for me was holding me back as far as my emotions, as far as my body, as far as my intuition. As an intuitive professional, it really was actually it was actually harder for me to get clear information and be very accurate on a daily basis. And it was affecting my mood as well as inflammation in my body and pain. So that's another thing. Chemicals and heavy metals were another thing that I detoxed from. And then as far as the energy level of things, being an energy sensitive, that is one of the main things that I do, is help other intuitives or other people who are sensitive or empaths, even if they're not an intuitive professional, helping those people really learn to manage their energy. And of course, that relates to creativity, your faith and your trust, and also poor energy boundaries. So if you want more information about that, I highly suggest looking at any of the online courses that I also have up and checking out the free information on the Mind Body Detox podcast if you are not already following that. So anyway, that's a little bit about my journey. It's a 15-year journey of, hey, I'm going to utilize the Mind Body Detox protocols to overcome toxic relationships. And now I'm going to utilize it to get rid of cigarettes and sugar and all these things. So I want to just, again, before we move on, just let you know that this program is a lifestyle. And it's like, of course, I'm super passionate about it. And I love the community that is, of course, around this program is just so inspirational. So now you are part of that community. So welcome to this lifestyle. Welcome to the Mind Body Detox. And of course, this one we are doing is self-sabotage. So let's go forward and talk a little bit about self-sabotage and really how it comes up in our lives. So while we're talking here, I want you to think a little bit about why you're here. As far as why did you feel called to take this course? Because self-sabotage is exceedingly common. But what's really interesting is that a lot of people don't realize that it's active in their life. That's what gets me. It's so strange, unless you have a conversation with someone and say, I think you might be, self-sabotage might be coming up. Some people don't even realize it. They don't even put a word to it. They just feel that they're a failure, or they haven't been able to succeed in this department, or they keep having this happen, or this, a lot of times they live in a paradigm where they think that life happens to them, not through them. As I say, life happens through you, not to you. So life happening to them would be an example of perceiving that the world is, you're a victim, and that the world is doing all these things to you, having these circumstances line up or events that keep happening, and you just feel that you have no control. So that can be a way that self-sabotage comes up, and it's really, really common. So I'm not surprised a lot of times that when people are, the people are not always ready for this course until they first can recognize that it's active in their life. And I think that's what's really beautiful about becoming more conscious and becoming more aware of yourself, is because that's where you take your power back. And that's where you can recognize, oh my gosh, this has actually been happening for most of my life. And it's very, very common. It's the distinguishing trait of an average person. And that is most of us. Most of us, again, are participating in self-sabotage. Now, 20% of us, should say, do it regularly. That's a lot of people if you think about it in the entire world. But 80 to 95% of people, when they're dieting, gaining it all back. So think about it. 20% of us are self-sabotaging on a regular basis. And that could be in any department. And we'll talk about how it comes up in different areas. Most people think about it as far as their health, their money, relationships. So 20% of people out there are doing something on a daily basis, regularly, that they're messing with their goals. But the common thing as Americans is we see people who are, really sabotaging their lifestyle and their health, especially when it comes to weight. And so many people jump on the diet train and then they fall off, or they do it and then they, gain it all back, which is 80 to 95% of people that diet gain it all back. And again, that's a form of self-sabotage, not during the actual program. You actually get there and you're like, wow, I've succeeded. But after that, you just fall off the lifestyle. Again, that's why having health in a holistic way is really a lifestyle. Now, other thing is 40 to 60% of people with addiction relapse within 30 days and 85% within the first year. Now, we have to think about addiction in a different way. Most people think it's only drugs and alcohol, but addictive behavior is something that we all of us, I'll say it again, all of us are participating in some capacity. Because with the age of cell phones and all the dopamine that we're getting from scrolling and pop-ups, and how our phone really is interconnected with our neurology, how we've been really wired now to interact with a device like that and get these little hits off of it, we can be easily addicted to our phone and not even realize that. If you ever leave your phone somewhere and then all of a sudden you are concerned that you don't know where it is and you feel anxiety, that's no different than someone who's addicted to cigarettes and all of a sudden they don't have their cigarettes and they're like, where do my cigarettes go? They start getting anxiety until they get another cigarette. They feel that withdrawal symptoms, the withdrawal experience that they're having. So that's similar to the phone situation. So I want to just say that because with the Mind Body Detox program, we talk about how many different ways that we do have addictive behavior come up in our lives, whether it's in relationships, or it's with food, or it's with sugar or caffeine, or our phones, or even it could be shopping. It could be sleeping. There's a lot of different ways it comes up, and we don't always recognize it. But 40 to 60%, if we are trying to get rid of it, are going to relapse in 30 days. So just be aware of that. And we can look at self-sabotage like it could be potentially an addiction. Now, not in the textbook case. Addiction usually is where when you have some sort of behavior that is affecting your life and also affecting the lives of others around you, your family and friends, through your behavior. But self-sabotage, if you think about it, can be that way. And if you're trying to get rid of it, 40%, 60% of the time, you could potentially have it show up again. So I think it's good to mention that realistically, as we go through this and we identify where sabotage is coming up and really how we can utilize tools to get rid of it, that if it comes up and it's still there, doesn't mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you should just give up. That's of course what self-sabotage wants you to do. So I just want to kind of put that in your awareness a little bit there. And then the last one is half of Americans are set up for financial sabotage. So they have less than 3 months savings. And this was me. Honestly. And again, I say this on my podcast episode. If you have not listened to that, please go back and listen to that. It is a episode on some of this information. A lot of people are really in a space where they feel like they may not be able to save. And I was a single mom on food stamps, I had no ability, I thought, to save at that time, but I shifted my mindset and I really started to create a nest egg and start to save up even in that situation. And it wasn't until I recognized and saw how much financial sabotage and the perspective on it and that poverty consciousness that I was living in was affecting me and setting me up for more poverty and more being in a hole. So it is something that, again, self-sabotage is hidden. It's hiding in plain sight. It's in a lot of different places that we may not even recognize it showing up. So where does it show up then? Like I said, it shows up in relationships. For example, you could be really enjoying a new relationship with a spouse, or a lover or a friend, or even a colleague at work. And if you have red flags that go up in the relationship that remind you of someone in the past, or you're worried that maybe something's going to happen. Sometimes you can sabotage that relationship through either through distancing yourself and maybe trying to predict what's going to happen. And so you just don't want to get hurt and you can back off and completely sabotage a perfectly good relationship. You could have triggers from the past that come up that you can outright maybe attack the person or project onto the person. Projecting meaning you're really thinking that they're like someone that you know or that has hurt you in the past, and then you start treating them that way, even though they may not be that way. They just have something in there is trying to resolve itself. So that's very common for people to sabotage relationships. Our health, we do that as well. How many times have you been like, okay, I'm gonna like go to sleep at this time or wake up at this time, and I keep hitting the snooze button. And especially when maybe you want to get up and not hit the snooze button to go to the gym, or you are promising yourself you're not going to have that piece of cake, or you're going to continue to, eat vegetarian or whatever diet or lifestyle you're trying to adhere to, and then you fall off of it, or you segue to another direction. Money as well is where we sabotage as well. We can basically go on a spending spree. We can save up a whole lot of money and get to a particular goal and then be like, yeah, okay, now I deserve to like have some fun. And then you just, put some debt on a credit card. That can really happen. With work, we can maybe manifest that job that we're looking for. And all of a sudden maybe we get a little bit nervous about it. Maybe we don't think it's the right thing anymore, or try to create reasons why it might not work out. Or we can start to perceive that the job is boring. We can get the shiny object, the shiny prize of that work or that position, and all of a sudden be like, I'm bored. And then you could potentially sabotage that by either moving on, creating work drama, or doing something because you're just like, I need something to stimulate me. This is, I don't like this. So that's another way we can sabotage ourselves in work. And then in spirituality, we can definitely have goals as far as connecting on our intuition, connecting with spirit, having trust and faith, and we can allow ourselves to get caught up in negative thinking, in mistrust, or allowing our belief system to dictate what we think is going to happen or not going to happen. That's really common in spirituality, where we kind of get lost in dogmas, and the dogmas can actually sabotage our relationship directly with spirit, with our own higher power. We believe something has to be a certain way because this is what we were taught, and that can actually sabotage a deep, intimate connection you can have with a higher power that you can get, direct feelings, direct signs, breadcrumbs, a feeling of this intimacy of like, I'm getting signs, I'm getting a conversation, I'm feeling supported from spirit. And a lot of times we can sabotage that because we don't feel worthy. We feel like we need to be perfect, or maybe we've sinned, or whatever our religion has taught us. We can absolutely carry that and sabotage our relationship to spirit. And so in general, anytime we sabotage ourselves, it shows up when we set a goal, when we have a desire, when we have something that we want and we're trying to strive for, or trying to maintain. And that's when it really does start to show up in sneaky ways. The symptoms of self-sabotage are many, but here are some of the common ones: procrastination and little movement. So maybe you're just not really moving as fast as you want, or you're just making little steps, or you're dragging your feet about something, or you wait till last minute, and you believe that maybe I just work well under pressure. That's just how I work. And that can be a potential denial that you're actually just procrastinating. But that's something that is very common as a symptom. Losing our focus and our goals. So we can absolutely set out to achieve something, and all of a sudden we have shiny object syndrome, and we look and say, oh my gosh, what is over there now? And we completely forget that we were trying to achieve that goal until months later or weeks later, when we recognize that, oh, wait, what happened there? Or life distracted us. Life happened, or this happened, or that happened. Then we completely feel defeated. Overindulging is another way. We can overeat, overwork, get involved in substances, anything that's not in moderation, where we are unable to maintain a pace to reach our goal because we put out too much excess, or we indulge in too much excess that creates an imbalance. And inevitably, mentally, physically, or spiritually, we become overloaded, and or we become tired or exhausted from overindulging, or from being overloaded. And then, of course, we lose the momentum and the drive and the focus there as well to continue on. And that's where procrastination can even come up too, where, we ate something that we don't feel the best. And we're like, I feel tired now. I overate, or I ate this, big piece of cake and I just don't feel it. I'm tired now. And then we just like put it off, whatever it is we're trying to do. We can also engage in destructive dynamics. So this means if we are with ourselves or others, so we can definitely not set goals or not set boundaries or maintain boundaries. Setting goals would be potentially losing our focus and goals, but engaging in destructive dynamics would be continuing to allow yourself to be around these negative people, or being negative to yourself, not setting any boundaries at all with saying no to yourself or others, and not maintaining those. So we can definitely set boundaries up, but we maybe can't maintain them. I've actually been guilty of this in my life, and it's something that's come up that I've recognized, like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. I have really good boundaries. I'm really good at setting them, pretty good at maintaining them, but in certain areas of my life, I haven't actually set up any consequences if those boundaries are not maintained by others. So I almost set myself up I almost sabotaged a dynamic or a structure that I was trying to create, because it didn't actually create a boundary or something to maintain that boundary. Because if there's no consequences for someone crossing a boundary, whether that's you pull away, or if it's a work situation, there's some sort of work consequences, then of course it's hard to create a healthy dynamic, and that can create a destructive dynamic. So that's an example there. With fixed mindset and negativity, this is one of the most common things that people think about when they think about self-sabotage. They think about that negative voice inside of their head that is telling them they can't do this, or they should stop, or what are people going to think, or they're critical of themselves, or judgmental, or cynical. So cynical, critical, and judgmental. So if you feel that way towards yourself or others, because when you have it towards yourself, you're going to have it most likely towards others. I know I met a lot of people that are really amazing healer, helper personalities, and they're really kind, and they're just very super judgmental towards themselves. But most of the time, maybe they're not judgmental towards others, but when they meet people that remind them of themselves, the part of you that you are critical, cynical, and judgmental about, you will also be critical, cynical, and judgmental about that person, because you will see yourself in them. Even if you don't like it, so I don't want to be mean to them or think these mean thoughts about them, there is a reflection of you there. So when you have a fixed mindset, where we'll talk more about that a little bit later, and negativity, this is where we commonly see self-sabotage, and it's mostly the basic form that people engage in trying to change, trying to better their self-talk through affirmations or other ways to change their mindset. And that's the most common one you'll see. And then the last one is chaos. So if you have a lot of chaos going on in your life, could be accidents, overwhelm, excessive movement. That's really what chaos is. Just a lot of things happening all at once. And there's no stillness. There's no space to just breathe or, be chill, I should say. That can be a sign of self-sabotage. Now, granted that there are absolute circumstances where people around you, your family, your friends, your work, there's a lot of changes maybe happening at once, or someone has gone through maybe some sort of traumatic event, or there are things that happen in life where chaos kind of comes in. But if you have not set up some of your own boundaries and dynamics between yourself and your setting and your environment, that can help mitigate or eliminate, or I should say, lessen the chaotic, excessive movement of change, that can absolutely be you're just setting yourself up for self-sabotage. That can be a sign that it's active. And that's something for my journey running a business. There's been a lot of change. a lot of growth, a lot of potential chaos to be happening inside the organic growth that happens with a successful business. And for that, I have learned that if things get overwhelming because of the chaos, and I have not set up parameters to create stillness within myself, to create and maintain an organized schedule, to create self-care. We'll talk more about these things. Chaos runs rampant. And of course, overwhelm will create the need with the anxiety that comes along with that to potentially procrastinate and lose focus and get scattered, overindulge because of the stress by overeating or overworking or whatever it is, and engaging in destructive dynamics. And then maybe leading to negativity of like, oh my gosh, why is this way? So I think chaos is kind of like a interesting one to look at, because a lot of times we think it's out there and it's not actually, we can't control it. What we can control is ourselves. We can control our boundaries, our schedule, and what we will say yes to and say no to. So I think that those things are important to keep in mind. So those are basic symptoms of self-sabotage: procrastination, losing focus, overindulging, engaging in destructive dynamics, having a fixed mindset and being maybe more negative, and then having chaos break loose. So we're going to think about here. We talked about, why are you here? What's your purpose for being in the self-sabotage detox? But I want you to think about what your current self-sabotage toxin is. How is it coming up? What is it doing? What is it preventing you from doing or achieving? What is your goal? And we're going to, of course, go and look at the handouts that you have, that PDF that you will have downloaded and printed. And we're going to do that here in a second here. But let's just think about in our mind, what is our goal for this particular self-sabotage detox? What are you trying to achieve with this course? And think about what keeps quote unquote happening or quote unquote stopping you. Again, these are perceptions. What keeps happening to you or what keeps stopping you? Because those are important questions to answer. Because these things that are happening or quote unquote stopping you, these blocks that you perceive are why they could potentially be your actual toxin. Again, like I think, remember, self-sabotage hides in plain sight. And that's why I love working with people as a coach, because it's like, okay, as a medical intuitive, I can see people's aura, I can see what's going on in their field and how it may be coming up as far as self-sabotage and what it looks like and how it identifies itself. And it's really nice to have someone else give you a perspective, because you may not be able to see it yourself, but you can see the symptoms of it. So what are the symptoms? What keeps happening or quote unquote stopping you? That is something that we want to look at, because it could, again, be the toxin, the root, the thing that we're going to eliminate with this self-sabotage detox. Now, next, we're going to be working on the most important thing, which is setting yourself up for success. Okay. And self-sabotage, the saboteur in you is like, success. It hears that word, it's like, here, I'm coming out to sabotage this. I got to find some way to get involved here. This is my cue to be active. So whenever we use those words and we have this potential desired outcome, we're trying to set a goal, right? We're activating that saboteur. And again, the saboteur is ready and geared up to help us to have a challenge. But really what it's there to do is to protect us. It is there for a reason. We've had it in our lives because it's been a little personality in there that says, hey, you might want to watch out for this. This happened before, or I don't want you to get hurt, or I don't want you to get in trouble, or someone might see you and that might be scary. So really what it is it's there to be a protector. And in a sense, it can be utilized in a way that's very helpful when we've mastered it. We can look at it as far as a warning sign or a little voice that says, hey, I don't know about this. But after that, we want to watch out and make sure that it is not coming up in the way it needs to. So Setting up for success, we're going to create a clear goal. So if you are having your papers out here, we're going to get those out and we're going to go into some space for actually writing out what we're going to do. We're going to create a clear goal. We're going to make sure we're staying aligned with our core values. We're going to create a game plan now. And then we're going to work on clearing toxins and learning about the phases of self-sabotage. We need to have awareness of that. And taking actions with the tools in the game plan that we're going to talk about is what we'll be doing to make that happen. So I will ask you to get out your PDF. And we're going to start with that first page. I'm going to kind of go over a little bit about how this program is going to work for the next 6 days, since this is a 7-day course. Of course, you can do it at your own pace if you're listening to the recording, but we are going to break it up because Saboteur wants you to try to push it all in and do it all at once and get to the end so that you can just get it done. But that actually, so you can feel accomplished, but that actually isn't the best way to do it. We want to do a slow and steady pace. So any of these exercises that you feel you need to take more than 1 day on, that's perfectly fine. You want to just allow yourself room to process all the journal prompts and things that will come up. So this is how we're going to run this particular 7-day detox. You're going to choose your detox area. Where do you sabotage the most? And we're going to fill that out in the PDF here. You're going to have access to the online platform that's going to give you access to the daily guided meditation. That's where you can download the tracking sheets if you would like to continue on and have those and as a PDF to download and print over and over again if you want to continue on with this journey after the 7 days. That's where your journal prompts will be. And you'll be able to access the live recordings as well on the platform if you're not involved in the live webinars at this time. You'll also have access on that platform. And again, I'll show you this at the end. I'm going to show you how to get onto the platform and give you information on that as well if you're here live. So don't worry about that. But I'll also give you information how to connect with the online community. That'll be very helpful because then you're going to be able to connect with anyone who's been through the Mind Body Detox program and reach out, and then you guys can connect and talk about what's going on throughout your day. Each day is going to be very simple. If you're watching the recording, there's going to be a video of me. If you're here live, of course, we're going to join tomorrow and you're going to see me live and we're going to go through all this fun stuff. There's going to be a meditation to do daily. It's only set 10 minutes. So it's a very, very less than 10 minutes. It's a mini meditation. And you're going to have a journal prompt with an affirmation and tracking sheets. So that's really what your daily groove is. It's not something that's a lot. It's just, here's a video, here's a meditation, here's a journal prompt, and here's your tracking sheets to kind of keep you focused. And that, again, we talked about losing focus for your goals. That's the way that the saboteur comes up. That's why we are including the tracking sheets, because what you track and what you're aware of, you can manage. What we have awareness of, we can manage. And if we don't have awareness that it's happening in the first place, we can't really change or manage it. So that's why tracking sheets are super fun, super amazing. And they actually can help you feel really accomplished because you can look back and say, wow, I make this connection here that when I got up at this time a little bit later, or when I ate this breakfast food, it seemed to mess with my brain. I had an inability to focus here. And then I just procrastinated instead of doing what I wanted to do. So it's an interesting awareness to see how all of those things will line up and connect to each other. And that's why we have, of course, the tracking sheets. I'm going to go over this again at the end, just to kind of remind you after our content for the day. This first webinar is a little bit longer than each of the other days' content, just because, of course, we're just introducing the course and getting started. But I will go over this again, just so you're not like, wait, what do we do now at the end? Again, it's going to be a video, a meditation, a journal, an affirmation, and tracking sheets that will be on the platform for you to check out. So at this time, I'm going to see if anybody has any questions. I have paused the recording, so if you have any questions, let me know. I know Mimi had to hop off for the night, but I want to see if you have any questions. Miss Vicky, you're more than welcome to get on the camera, get on to talk with the microphone if you have any questions about the first content, or you can chat with me in the text box. It's up to you. And I'll give you just like a minute or two if you are typing, because I know sometimes if you're on a phone, typing on a phone isn't the most swift. Yes, yes, absolutely, Vicky. The tracking sheets are just so amazing. And especially when you can have space to write down your feelings that come up. That is absolutely important. And if you noticed on the tracking sheets, well, actually, I'll probably start recording this to make sure that that information is shared. But on the tracking sheets, it shares like, what's your emotions before you eat today, or your cravings? What are you craving? Like sometimes people aren't hungry for breakfast. You're like, oh, I'm hungry for lunch. Sometimes you are. And what emotions are you feeling that day that maybe made you feel more hungry or not? So all those are like really important. So yeah, cool. I will continue on. All right, here we go. Now we're going to be setting ourselves up for success. So we're going to get out our PDF first page, and we're going to be creating a clear goal. We're going to be staying aligned with our core values. We're going to create a game plan, clear some toxins throughout this whole week, and then we're going to look at the faces of self-sabotage. And taking action is what we're doing next. So if you have not already, download and print the 7 days self-sabotage PDF. This is what the first page looks like. And your daily groove is just going to some journal exercises, a meditation, and the tracking sheets. So it's not too much. Don't get overwhelmed. And overwhelm is actually a way that self-sabotage comes up and can say, oh my gosh, this is way too much right now. Stop it. I'm going to tell that voice right now to stop it, because you are unstoppable. That is what I would say. If you're feeling that right now, replace that thought right now with that, because this is really pretty simple and easy. So what we're going to do for this next page here is we're going to start working on creating a clear goal. And that's really important because we want to make sure we're planning out the ways to get to that goal. We're going to make some action steps to really look at that. And then, of course, along the way, we're going to track our progress. So here's what the first page looks like. As I go through the next 8 or so slides, I want you just to look at this top part of your sheet and check off anywhere you feel self-sabotage is in your life, any persona that it's taking. Because the first step for us to overcome self-sabotage is to recognize all the subtle areas that it is alive and thriving. And again, it's usually right in front of us. So we're going to look at these different areas and the personas in which it shows up. And I want you just to check off on there what particular areas that you can relate to. And I would even say, like, some people, if you want to get specific with it, you can say, hey, like 5, out of 10, like a 1 to 10 scale. If you want to just check them off, like, yeah, I do that, I do that, I do that. But if you want to say, I kind of sometimes do it, like on a scale 1 to 10, like procrastinator, like I'm a 3, like sometimes I do it. If you're an 8 and you're like, yeah, I do it a lot, I do it a lot. Or if you're a 10, that may be cool too. So you can kind of give yourself a rating in these different areas. Or if you want to keep it simple, just check off the boxes that you can say, yeah, this is definitely an area in which I can be aware that I have that persona and how the saboteur comes up and what it looks like. So the first one is the procrastinator. So when we're identifying our self-sabotage personality, we're going to look at what it looks like. And the first one is the procrastinator. So where in your life do you put things off? Where do you waste time? Or you have unproductive time? So this can be where you have a goal, you're wanting to create something, and maybe you get distracted because of your phone, or you don't set a timer on your phone or on something that you need to have something done in a certain amount of time, and you are just not utilizing your time properly. You could be waiting till the last minute. And that inner saboteur voice could just say, yeah, we could just wait till later. And really underneath that is a voice that says, I don't know, that I just, maybe it's like too much to do right now. And maybe we should just like wait because that's overwhelming. And that's a lot of times why this persona comes out, that there's just too much happening, or I just don't feel like it. But a lot of times we don't feel like it because it feels hard, or maybe it's going to take a lot of focus, or we just feel that it's too much. And that's a lot of the time why it comes out. So where are you the procrastinator? Putting things off, wasting time, or being unproductive with your time? The next one is the overthinker. Are you someone that overanalyzes yourself? Do you overanalyze why you do things, or what's the right way to do this? Or maybe you overplan. Maybe you're someone that's trying to plan out everything and make sure that you have it all organized. And you could also be the person that has this anxiety that's like, okay, what could go wrong here? And I think that this one's really common because we, as our culture, are really stuck in our heads. Most of us are not in our bodies. We're not aware of our bodies. And after we go over these personas of the saboteur and how it shows up in a personality type in us, and where it's at, we're going to talk about the human energy field a little bit, because that's, again, I have a different take on how we can overcome the saboteur. The overthinker, again, has anxiety about what could go wrong. And what's interesting about it is that you could actually become a self-fulfilling prophecy if you were saying, well, you know what, I think that if I go out to that social gathering, people could make fun of me, or I could look stupid, or whatever it is that you're thinking could go wrong. And when you enter into that space and maybe you do go, you are feeling so worried about it happening that you end up maybe not being in your awareness of your body, or feeling anchored, or feeling completely calm, that you're more likely to maybe be klutzy, or to make a mistake, or fumble over something or your words, or not feel confident enough in yourself because you're feeling anxious and you're overthinking about everything that is happening that's going wrong at that time. And you just continue this hamster wheel of overthinking and overanalyzing how to do it the right way, or how to fix it, that you could become a self-fulfilling prophecy. This could happen, again, remember, in your health, in your relationships, money, and your spirituality, and at your work. So again, thinking about each of these and how they would come up in that particular area. I like this one because as an intuitive, I've actually been really guilty of this. Now, you don't have to be psychic to have this particular persona come up, but I call it this because for me as a psychic, it's been hard because sometimes I'm like, well, that's just going to happen. I know that's going to happen. And so for me, it's been really sneaky because I am very in tune a lot of times about things that are going to happen, or it's going to turn out this way. I've had multiple times when it comes to hiring. I just know when I meet someone that I'm supposed to hire them. I know when I'm not supposed to work with them. I feel like for me, it's been a really sneaky way for self-sabotage to sneak in and say, well, most of the time you're right. These things. And we all can do this, whether or not we're intuitive or we're tapped into that intuition. We can predict an outcome that we think is going to happen. And maybe we can even say, like, I know that's going to happen. And maybe you can say it with a lot of conviction and be like, yeah, this is what's going to go on. This is what's going to go down when I go there, or I go to that job, or when I try to go to the gym, this is what's going to happen. And when you say that, that's really a fixed mindset. When you're saying, this is how it's going to be, this is how it's going to turn out, and that's something that I see a lot of, you'll see it more often in teenagers. If you have any teenagers in your household, they can sometimes have a fixed mindset because they are, overwhelmed, or they're like, yeah, you're just going to do that. You're going to embarrass me if you go to the football game with me, or whatever. We do that too, to ourselves, but you can kind of hear that voice in them that they predict something that's going to happen. If this is a persona that comes up and you're really sabotaging going to a particular job or an event, or making an action step because you think it's going to turn out a certain way, prove yourself wrong. Prove yourself wrong. That's the common mantra I would say to someone who has the psychic persona of their saboteur. The escape artist. This one's pretty big for people in the helping profession. I meet a lot of people that do not enjoy confrontation, emotionally sensitive people, empathic people, that instead of facing a confrontation or something that may be a little bit of a difficult conversation to have, or something that just feels overwhelming, they run away. So the escape artist is someone that they perceive that something's overwhelming, they will run away from it. They will not deal with it. This is, of course, a behavior to reduce anxiety. So if you have anything in your life that you're having a behavior that you're trying to reduce an anxious feeling inside of there, that's something, again, I always recommend working with a professional counselor when it comes to overcoming anything in our life. Because I'm a coach, of course, but I think sometimes we can have deep issues come up and fears to come up, and especially when it relates to anxiety, because there could be a anxiety that we carry within ourselves that we continue to want to avoid it because of a deep-seated hurt or trauma, and we are actually sabotaging because we just want to avoid that happening again. When really it's now starting to come up in all different areas. So it's a really big one. The escape artist sometimes creates chaos as an excuse. So if there's a big deadline coming up, or maybe there's a big event that they're going to be going to and they're nervous about it, maybe they have a presentation, or you're going to present something to your boss or speak somewhere, or you're going to be the first, you're going to be the bridesmaid at a wedding and you have to do a talk, or let's think of another example. You have a job review that's coming up, or a family reunion. I'm trying to think, there's so many different things it could be, but sometimes if you perceive that something's going to be overwhelming, you could create chaos or drama or something that could happen, that you could get sick, or you could just say, oh my gosh, well, now I have a flat tire. There could be something that could come up, and then now there's your out. There's your excuse to escape from the particular situation. So be aware if you have anything that happens and you're like, wait a minute, I keep not being able to reach this goal, or that keeps happening. Are you potentially unconsciously or consciously creating chaos as an out, or as an excuse to get away and not have to deal with it? And escape artists they never like to go outside their comfort zone. Now, this one's hard for me because I feel like a lot of times I get myself involved in things before I realize how maybe not risky, but how potentially overwhelming they could be. And so I a lot of times go outside of my comfort zone a lot. But there are certain areas in my life, and not in business, that I do not do that. So I go out of my comfort zone in my personal life a lot, but in my business, when it comes to finances, I take a lot less risk. And that's something that actually did show up as a sabotaging behavior for me, not moving forward and doing potential action steps to create growth in my business and in my life, because I didn't want to go outside of my comfort zone. I felt like maybe I'm not going to be ready for that. That seems overwhelming. That seems too much. So, maybe we won't be able to handle that. I'll give you an example. So Firefly Hollow my business grew very quickly and organically. And I didn't want to put out advertising because I felt that we didn't have enough team members that had openings, because we had a pretty busy book for our schedule for our practitioners, getting clients to see them, that I felt that it wasn't necessary to go and maybe take a risk to advertise. Word of mouth has always been very successful for us, and it is the best form of marketing and sharing with people. But I didn't want to go outside of my comfort zone and potentially put out another potential to bring in income. And it didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, because if we have a great service, we have great people, we are helping so many amazing community members, why would we not spread the word and say, hey, we have potential solutions for you, we can help? It's just a matter of saboteur coming in there and saying, the escape artist saboteur persona says, that's a little bit outside my comfort zone. I've never advertised before. I don't know. Then people might have to see me and then, see us, and they might see what we're doing wrong, or they potentially, that the inner critic that says what are the things that they could, perceive that we're not the Hershey Spa or whatever, this amazing, beautiful place. We have this cute little, very a smaller building, and it's all the things that the inner saboteur and the escape artist wants to say. So you can kind of get an idea. Can you relate to any of the potential similar dialogues that you have? especially if anxiety is one of the main ones that comes up for you, main behavior, or I'm sorry, the main feeling that creates some behaviors. So where do you escape and run away? That's a big one to think about. The opposite one would be kind of that can come along with that actually too, if you do have anxiety, but it's sort of, I think it's a little bit opposite, where someone is more could be more assertive and a little bit more aggressive, but there also could be just in general guarded. So these are people that are predicting or thinking that something's going to happen, so they are protecting themselves from hurt, from pain, waiting for the next fight. Like, okay, this is going to go wrong, or these people have always hurt me this way, and I'm used to people betraying me or abandoning me, or I'm used to myself, guarding against yourself too. I'm going to be, I'm super critical all the time. So I'm not going to, I'm just going to be guarded, because I don't want to have to feel vulnerable. So that's really what it is. The fear of being vulnerable, and the guarded individuals, when that persona for the self-saboteur comes up, they can lack relationship depth and longevity. And this isn't just romantically or in friendships, but maybe in your job. Maybe you go and you join a place and it's a great new work environment and you're getting along with everyone. And then you're like, well, I don't know, I've been hurt before. And then you start to back off, or you're waiting for the next shoe to drop. This last 6 jobs I had, this happened. I'm waiting for it to happen again here. And then you start to unconsciously separate yourself from the dynamics in these healthy relationships that are forming. And then you just could be the person that you're then starting to flee. But in this situation, if you're not fleeing and you're not running away, you're not the escape artist, you're just staying at that potential job, but just keeping your distance and just keeping a guard up. Like and people will say, well, they're just hard to get close to. They just seem kind of cold or distant. You may stay in the situation, but not continue to get that depth. Or it can show up with your money. Again, you could not take risks and just like gonna be guarded with it and not, share or show what I have. And again, it can show up in your health. You can absolutely be guarding against the potential for failure. If you're like, well, I don't really want to share my emotional, mental health, internal world with a therapist, because I don't want them to see what's going to happen. I might be seen. I might, they might see what I perceive is wrong with me. So you can see how that guarded persona can actually sabotage everything. It's the example of going to and getting maybe some sort of counseling. If you do need to see a counselor, it's so common for there to be a big stigma around mental health, and it's so important for people to get that assistance. I've been seeing counselors for years. It's something that it's just so common to me, and it's something like, hey, I think you should always have a counselor. But I know so many people have such a stigma against it, and that can absolutely perpetuate not getting into a safe, loving relationship with yourself and others. And then you can sabotage relationships because you're so guarded and do not share or do not want to connect on a deeper level, or even just share and ask for help from someone, whether it's a counselor or even asking for help in general at your job or in your relationships or your family. I like this one. I like this one a lot because I used to never plan for anything at all. And I actually, the saboteur came up in my life in this particular persona, and it was hidden in plain sight. Like I said, it's always hidden in plain sight. I became a planner because I was very busy, and became a person that had calendars and checklists, and to organize all the many things that go on in my business and my personal life. To stay on top of things, I became kind of a type A person that was planning for everything, plan for the worst, plan everything just in case, because when there's a lot of, that was my reason was for chaos control. If you have something planned out, and that's a healthy way, there is a healthy dynamic or healthy way that the planner in you can come out, and you can create a balanced structure and create security for planning your day or having time management or whatever thing like that. But when it becomes in the territory of the saboteur, this is where you plan for everything and you stay busy to avoid situations or avoid intimacy with others, or avoid taking care of things, or maybe to be in denial that there is something wrong in you can say, well, I'm just planning for all these things, but then have completely like blinders on to the other areas of your life that need to be addressed. And the planner really doesn't like to deal with any situations where they're not in control. They have a hard time letting go. And that's really why they plan in the first place, so they can feel like they're in control. And that's actually a way that you can sabotage yourself, and it can come up in that particular persona. And the excessive. This is all the times when we are lacking moderation in our food, in our diet, in our sleep, in our, you know, consuming media, whatever it is. That most times I think it's media, food, and sleep is usually common for our culture, just overindulge in the excess. Alcohol and drugs too. So those are the things that can happen. So if you are the excessive, and the saboteur comes up in the way that you're going towards your goal and you're keeping moving forward, it can come up in a way where you have an all or nothing mentality, where you're like, I need to go 110% at this self-sabotage course. I need to put 110% in, and I'm going to get there. That can actually be an overachiever in a way, but it can absolutely be a way that you can lose your motivation, because you're basically like a huge firework. You're putting all this energy and it blows up, and then you don't have any energy left. You're going to lack that motivation to keep going forward if you're using your energy in excessive ways, even if that's eating or sleeping too much or eating too little. Anything in moderation that's lacking moderation can be excessive, but mostly it's overindulging. The critic is if you're only negative and you have only negative perspectives of yourself or others, or if you're feeling judgmental or cynical. So that one's very common. And then I said a little bit about the overachiever, but this is a little bit more than we were talking about the excessive. The excessive and the overachiever are similar, but the overachiever is a perfectionist. They have high standards and they compare themselves to others constantly. So a lot of times, if you don't want to, I don't want to go to that party because she's going to think, I'm this way, because you're comparing yourself to he or she or whoever it is. They look this way or they have this thing. Or you feel like you should be a certain way. And again, you're comparing yourself to another person. I did this in business for a while. I always felt like maybe I wasn't up to the standards of what needs to be. And I didn't know what those standards were. And I started to make them very high for myself. And I really let myself down. That saboteur came up in that, because I was always comparing myself to others. And instead of actually making action steps, I thought, well, we're not ready to do that yet. I don't want to be seen in that way, because their program or their service or whatever it is so much like better. It's just so great. And I don't think I'm there yet. So a lot of times we don't start where we're at, and we're comparing ourselves to that person we think is our ideal or our idols. Like, oh my gosh, they're so amazing. How can I shouldn't even start, because I'm not ever going to get there. So that high standard perfectionist, comparing to others, that can be a huge way that we sabotage ourselves. And then finally, the people pleaser. This is where we worry about what other people think. We put other people first before ourselves, and before our self-care, before all the things we need to do to make sure we can continue to meet our goals and take the action steps that we have placed to continue on that path. And we can be shifty as a people pleaser. We can have a goal and a focus, and all of a sudden something happens in our environment or people around us need something. And then we can shift our direction to please them or to adhere to what they need. And then we completely lose sight of our goal and our focus, and then sabotage our particular dreams or whatever we're looking to accomplish. So those are the common ways that the personas that the saboteur comes up and shows up. So hopefully you have taken a little bit here, the information, and checked off the ways that it comes up. And if you have used the number system, like on a scale of 1 to 10 of how often you do it, this is the time where we're going to select one specific self-sabotage behavior or persona that you plan to detox from. And the reason why I did this first, to kind of give you an idea of the personas and how it comes up, because there are going to be different, again, areas that it will be thriving in, that saboteur would be thriving in your world, say it's an overthinker or it's the excessive. That way you have an idea where to pinpoint your focus and how to perceive the journal prompts with the planner in mind or the guarded persona in mind. So let's take this time right now. And again, pause this video if you are watching the recording to select one specific sabotage behavior you plan to detox. What is your specific goal for this week? Let's list some self-sabotage obstacles over here. So example, if you're the procrastinator, your specific goal is going to look like, I am going to eliminate procrastination in my behavior 4 out of 7 days of this week. The specific word is the key here, being specific. Because if we don't tell ourselves or tell the universe exactly what we want, it may give us exactly what we say. And that might be, I want to work on my procrastinator. Okay, but what does that mean? Work on. You can work on it right now. You're working on it right now. You're thinking about it. You know, you're contemplating how it shows up. That's kind of working on it in a way. But if we're specific that says, I want to eliminate procrastination as a behavior in my life 4 out of the next 7 days. Or you could say 60% of the time if you want to be percentage. If we make it specific, that's very helpful in making our goals clear. As we talked about before, having a clear goal. So take your time to write down that specific clear goal. And then we will take items that we think that procrastinator will come up. Obstacles. So I'll go ahead and pause the video and get that goal specific. And then we're going to talk about the obstacles here. So with the obstacles, let's use the procrastinator as an example. Say you know that you procrastinate when you haven't eaten enough or eaten maybe protein or something you haven't eaten, you procrastinate because you don't have the energy to do it. In that left box here, one of the ways that, or the obstacles in which it comes up is you haven't eaten enough or don't eat, consistent meals. And then it leads to low energy and then you procrastinate. So of course that obstacle there, the solution, the right is, hey, let me get myself some meals here. Let me even do a smoothie or a shake instead. If I'm skipping a meal, I have something that's going to give me energy to continue. So I don't have low energy and I procrastinate on something. Another obstacle is maybe you procrastinate because you're just feeling like you don't know where to start with something. That obstacle solution could be getting some assistance and coaching or support from a friend or family member on how to break down a goal or what it is that we're looking to do so that it's organized and you can break it into steps. Or the procrastinator could maybe just not have the calendar or a timer or something that can help keep them accountable. So maybe the obstacle is not having accountability. You can use a person as an accountability solution to help you say, I want to do this thing by this date. Or you can use your phone and or your calendar or both or all three. So that could be a self-sabotage solution for the particular goal of overcoming the procrastinator. So those, of course, those obstacles and solutions are the next step. List those potential obstacles and solutions. And you can pause this video and do that. And then number 4, we're going to list 3 action steps for the week. So action step number 1, for the procrastinator as the example, I'm going to eat 3 meals a day and I'm going to plan out my meals. or get a meal service or something like that. Obstacle number 2 would be I get overwhelmed. I don't know where to start with this project. Action step number 2 would be I am going to ask for some assistance with this project and helping break it down. Or I'm going to mind map it. I'm going to write down all the things I want to create with this particular goal and put it all in a list format. And then number 3 is with the procrastinator. One would be I'm going to utilize a tool to track. I'm going to use my calendar to track and put it on my calendar. And every day it's going to be on there to do something and break down in steps to get this particular goal achieved. So write down your action steps to meet that goal. And then you can pause this video, and when you're done, you'll come on back. And then the last one here, set your milestone and be specific. So I know I've reached my goal when. Remember, your specific goal was to overcome your procrastination behavior 60% of the time. I know I have reached my goal when after this week, I have decreased my I have eliminated my procrastination behavior 60% of the time, and I'm only engaging in it 40% of each particular day. So it's something that's very specific. So at the end of this week, if you can look back and say, I've reached that goal, because like most of the time I was like procrastinating 100% of the time. Now I was only doing like 40% because I did these action steps. So that's again how we want to make things very clear and specific. You'll notice here after you make your goal very specific, and I know that you can define it, how you know when you reach that milestone. You'll see on the bottom here that we have the 3 tools to continue with this week throughout the process is meditation, journal exercises, and tracking sheets. So those are the things that you can check off every day and make sure that you have those completed. All right. So now we're going to have some more questions and time for sharing. All right, Miss Vicki, let's take a little bit of a brain break. I'm going to have a little bit of a bathroom break here too. This is a time, if we were doing this class in person, I would go get some tea, we'd go get some water, whatever. But I want you to kind of sit with that PDF there, and I want to help you if we need to set some clear goals for you, obstacles and solutions. We'll do some like coaching here if we need to, and then we can go on forward with the rest of the content for tonight. But I'm going to step out here, use the restroom. I'll be right back. Get yourself some, write your questions down, and then we will continue on, and I'll help you with your goals. All right, Miss Vicky, let me know how I can help you if you need any assistance. And that's okay if you do not. I just want to check in on how your sheet's going. Two questions so far, but what would an example of a consequence be when not maintaining a boundary you have set with yourself? When writing for the self-sabotage obstacle, this is speaking towards, for example, with being a people pleaser. How being too much of a people pleaser can create obstacles for me. Perfect. So being too much of a people pleaser can create obstacles for you in a lot of ways. So if you have a goal to, let's just say the goal is to lose weight. If you are someone that will drop everything to go and help your family members, and you won't maybe have the time to go to the gym or to work out or whatever it is, or maybe make your own meals, that could potentially be an obstacle there. Or it could be something like if you want to go and have a specific job that you want to go to, and maybe that job or that entrepreneurship, or maybe you want to start a business or something, that could absolutely be a way that other people will come first, and then you end up not really maintaining what you want. If you are a people pleaser, a lot of times, then maybe you will be always wanting to do what the other people around you think is best, or you feel that they think is best, instead of really living your own dreams of what you really want, what you really value, instead of versus what you think that they want for you, or you've been perceiving that will help make them happy or please others around you. So I feel like that would be the consequence when you're not maintaining a boundary you've set with yourself, as far as people pleasing. So in general, a consequence for not maintaining a boundary you set with yourself in general is just that you won't reach whatever the goal is. I'm hoping I can think of an example. Hopefully, let me know if I didn't answer your questions there, and then I can continue on if I didn't answer them. And I'll answer in a different way if that didn't make sense. The other way I'm thinking now, I think I read this differently now. If you are writing down the obstacle for the people pleaser, you think about what if your goal is to stop being a people pleaser. The obstacle could be what circumstances come up that are common for you to then end up people pleasing. Like it may be certain people that are there. So maybe it's a certain family member that whenever they're around, you don't really be true to yourself. That person could be the potential obstacle. So when you're calling out that obstacle and recognizing this is a person that could be a trigger for me to actually people please instead of be true to myself, that particular circumstance would be an obstacle. So you can say, okay, when this family member's here, I can be aware that my people pleaser might be coming out here. The obstacle solution potentially, so say it's a family member, and say it's instead of me saying I don't want to go to that event with you, or I don't want to be involved with this particular craft or whatever they're doing, maybe they're doing something at home, instead, I don't want a family member to be upset with me, whatever. Instead, if you know that they're going to be asking you to potentially be involved in something, again, because your circumstances is so different, and in what your circumstance is, like an actual specific coaching would be, we can do that definitely later if you're going to be scheduling with me in May, but I'm trying to give like general answers. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So with the with the solution, then I could say, like, you could write them a letter instead of, like, hey, I really, really love you, and thank you so much for inviting me to go to this thing, but I just can't, I don't want to do it here. And again, it's different with different circumstances, but the solution would be, what can you do to overcome or eliminate or navigate when you're around that obstacle? Meaning a family member is going to be the person that's going to be the trigger for the people pleasing behavior. What can I do? And maybe it's making yourself busy and not being involved or being around when that craft is going to be happening. They always want you to do these craft nights or something. I can't imagine you wouldn't want to do that. It's like a bad example, but there's going to be something that you can think of that relates. Hopefully that makes sense. Do you need me to clarify further? Or any other questions, I should say. Cool. Thank you so much, Vicki. I appreciate it. All right. We shall return to the stuff. So now we're going to talk about the foundations of self-sabotage and this detox. We have gone over the phases of self-sabotage, the symptoms of self-sabotage, how common it is, helping you identify what your particular goal is and what you want to get rid of. How do you want to be specific with it? You've got the action steps here. So now we're going to talk about how the next 7 days are going to go, and really the foundations of the Mind Body Detox program itself in all forms and all ways that it's played out. Because the foundation for the Mind Body Detox program is based on energy medicine. It's based on our energy field. It's based on how we operate from an energetic sense. So you could say some people call it the psycho-spiritual sense, psychological spiritual sense, but it's really looking at how our energy field shifts when we have a particular toxin. And in this particular course, we're looking at self-sabotage. But with any particular thing you want to eliminate in your life, and this is why we do the whole 8-week self-sabotage, or the whole 8-week Mind Body Detox program, we are looking at foundations of how do we balance these particular 7 areas in our life. Because anytime we're going to eliminate something, say it's sugar, as an example, we will go through these 7 different areas and eradicate it in these 7 different areas. Because if we're imbalanced in any of these areas that we metabolize energy, metabolize our emotions, metabolize our mental, intellectual selves, all the different ways that it comes up, again, mind, body detox, we need to address those. And so for the foundations, again, with all the Mind Body Detox program stuff, but also with the self-sabotage detox, we have these 7 areas. And number 1 is emotional metabolism. And when this is out of balance, how we emotionally metabolize our energy, that's how we process our emotions and how we allow ourselves to be helped and nurtured, and also allow ourselves to help others. So there's a balance in giving and receiving. When we give too much, we can have an excessive amount of the emotional metabolism we're metabolizing too much emotionally, too many emotions. We're helping others and ourselves. So as a medium and as an intuitive, clairvoyantly, I see this in people's auras that have an excessive green in their aura. So there's someone who's an empath. There's someone who's very much a caretaker for others. They are sensitive to the needs of children or animals or the underdog or people who need assistance or help, or they say children. Yeah. So it's interesting to me when someone has self-sabotage comes up and they have an excessive amount of green in their aura, the emotional metabolism is out of balance for them. And that means that emotional metabolism relates to nurturing yourself and nurturing others. So what we're going to do for the next 7 days is we're going to go through the different layers. We're going to call it layers. We're going to go through the different modules, I'll call them, of the aura. In a way, we're not going to be doing anything like we would do for the 8-week Mind Body Detox program, but we're going to talk about the core foundational characteristics of each of these 7 different modules, and how working with those each day is going to be a key point for eliminating self-sabotage. Because what I see as a clairvoyant is I see when people are working with self-sabotage, it's usually if you look at their aura and you see all these colors here. I have green, yellow, blue, orange, purple, and red, and then like a white color. In general, we have all the full spectrum of colors in our aura for someone who's balanced. And when someone has an imbalance in their aura and their energy field, it shows up in their physical body and how maybe they're manifesting particular health issues. It shows up in their personality, in their psychology, their emotions, and how they perceive the world. So, sabotage itself is also present when there is an imbalance in the aura and in the energy field. And these 7 areas are key to making sure that we're eliminating that. So when I see a person, and it's not that often, but after I work with people, we get more in this balanced state. When I see a person who has a really vibrant rainbow full spectrum colors in their aura. They have a really great equal amount of green and yellow and blue and red and orange and purple. It's just this beautiful full spectrum just color. When you meet someone like this, and we have those of you out there probably have met people like this. They're vibrant. They're just full of life and full of energy. And if you could see clairvoyantly what their aura looks like, you would see a very rainbow aura. And that's the goal in general for this lifestyle, living this lifestyle of the Mind Body Detox and its program and everything it offers, whether it's this mini program or the full 8 weeks or any other programs that come along with it. Our goal is to balance the way that you metabolize energy, and emotions is one of them. So the number one we're going to go through for today, day 1, is the emotional metabolism. We're going to look at the saboteur and how its personality is coming up, whether you pick the procrastinator or the guarded, whatever the persona is coming up. We're going to go through some journal prompts to connect with and look at where we might have imbalance in the way that we emotionally nurture ourselves and others. Because again, if you are one that is overworking and under recovering, or over giving and under receiving, that is one way that self-sabotage is going to continue to come up. And that's the first area that we're going to detox it from in that number 1, again, this first area. So this is just a recap of the 7 days, the different areas that we'll be working on. And each day, starting tomorrow will be day 2. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth at each of these. So emotional metabolism is balance in our emotions and nurturing ourselves and others. The personal metabolism is our balance in our confidence, our stamina, and our willpower. And this is the one where people are like, yeah, I don't have any willpower. That's why I can't do the goal and do all the things because, or I don't have stamina. I keep trying to go. And then I'm like, ugh, and then the saboteur, self-sabotage comes up there. So that's, of course, an area that we work on. Number 3 is our expressive metabolism. This is about balancing, giving an expression of yourself to the world that is truly authentic to you, really making sure you're aligned with your core values and who you are. And the actions that you're doing are really aligned with your life purpose or what you feel you're supposed to be here to do. And I will remind you that being here to do something isn't necessarily being like a certain job. It may just be being a mother. That's your purpose right now. It may not be some sort of a career that we always think our purpose is a career. It's not always a career. It may just be your purpose is to, have a job, but also you're an amazing woodworker and that's your purpose, to just woodwork on the side. So just remind you of that. So that's something that we'll be doing on day 3. We'll be looking at how self-sabotage comes up in the ways we don't express ourselves authentically and we don't say no, and how that particular one is an area that we need to make sure that we're utilizing and being aware of. Day 4 is going to be interpersonal metabolism. This is how we balance our creativity and energy exchanges with ourselves and others. Mental metabolism is balance and logic and intuition. This is where we lose focus and then we sabotage because we lose focus, we get distracted, or we overanalyze or we overthink. So that's the one we're going to address on that day. Number 6 is physical metabolism. This is balance in our physical energy, our family, as well as our time and energy resources and our resource management. So that is an area that we have to, of course, look at. Where are we sabotaging ourselves because we don't have time management, or we're not organized, or we don't have anything laid out here? Or we can definitely be allowing ourselves to feel that we're like losing like our self-control a little bit. and we maybe don't have balance in our physical energy, and we don't have the we don't have the physical fortitude to go forward with our goal. So that's another area that will be addressed there, because not all goals that you're looking to achieve will be physical in nature, but this is the one where we want to make sure that anything in our physical world, that we make sure that this is balanced. And then, of course, the last one, day 7, is going to be our last day. This is where we're going to look at how everything interconnects, how all these different ways that we have self-sabotage come up, how it interconnects, and how we can allow ourselves to have trust and faith. Because a lot of times we don't feel worthy, because of some sort of higher power or belief that we're not worthy because of, I don't know, something that relates to what we were brought up with the religion. Or we can have impatience, and we don't trust the process of going through meeting our goal, and then we sabotage because we are not trusting in the process. We want things to happen yesterday, or we don't think that it's happening fast enough. And so that's something we will also talk about. So today I'll remind you, I'm going to go back here. We're going to just talk about, again, the foundations of self-sabotage and this detox are these 7 different areas. Today, we're going to go over the emotional metabolism. And there are 2 areas that we're going to look at today. And those are, number 1, overworking and under recovering, and unworthiness. So let's talk about overworking and under recovering. In areas where you are maybe allowing yourself to not reach a goal, or self-sabotage is coming up, where are you not giving yourself space to be by yourself? Because, in the example of, if you are a people pleaser and you're one that you can't ever reach your goals because you're always trying to appease others, a lot of times, if we don't have space to be by ourselves and to be away from other people's energy, we aren't fully identified maybe with ourself, of who we are. We are more waiting for what in the environment needs to shift, or how do I need to help or people please in this area to make things right, so I don't have to feel maybe the anxiety or the nervousness that comes along with people's emotions going up and down. And in that area, in that particular example, if you're not giving yourself space to unwind, and you're a super empath, and you're not giving yourself space to down regulate your nervous system so that you can relax, sleep deeply, maybe eat enough food that you need to eat, and you're nourishing yourself, maybe taking some baths, reading, anything that's like whatever you like to do. Maybe you like to work out or go hiking, whatever it is that helps you to recover, rest, and digest, and just chill. That's not involving other people. It's just self-care for you. And I don't mean self-care that's just, okay, I'm grooming myself and showering and brushing my teeth and clipping my nails. I mean, just really enjoying being with you. If you're under recovering and overworking, you're over busy, you are setting yourself up for self-sabotage. So this is the first one. And we talk about this in relation to emotional metabolism, because emotional metabolism relates to the heart chakra. And that one, of course, is the one I see in people who are empathic, and they are very loving and kind to all the world, and they want to help everyone. And they have a lot of green in their aura. And because of that, they tend to give too much, overwork, and push themselves to keep going, and not give to themselves, or give themselves space. Now, I also see this in people who have a lot of red in their aura, where they're pushing, they're trying to keep going, and they are not allowing themselves to, again, that space to unwind. That's something that I also see in that particular color, but we're working with mostly the emotional metabolism, because when you are overworking and under recovering, there could be a potential that you are not giving yourself space to deal with something that maybe is going on underneath the surface that maybe you just didn't want to look at. And I think that's really a hard thing, because we can sometimes avoid situations because we are stressed about maybe a relationship that might be not going well. If we work too much, then we don't have to deal with our spouse or our child, or maybe the negative dynamic that is happening, or maybe you don't want to spend time with an in-law or something like that. And if you overwork, then you can just not have to do it. And it could be also relating to your body. Maybe you have some health stuff that's coming up that you think, well, I'm just really busy. I just have to work. I just have to work. But maybe there's something that's really there. It could be related to your money too, like all these different areas, but we just might be avoiding it. And overworking and under recovering can be a way of doing that. It can also just be a sign that you don't feel, that you are worthy enough to give to. Other people are more important. I'm not important. And that moves to the next one, worthiness. You are worthy. And when you feel unworthy of love, unworthy of your time to spend with you, to recover, to relax, to unwind, to fill up your cup. And that's why the meditation for this week is filling up your cup. It is all about self-love, because anytime we want to make a change in our life, we can't truly make a change that lasts unless we're doing it for us. When we're trying to do it, lose weight or get that job or go to become a lawyer, or, a lot of times people, they go to school because their parents think they should become the doctor, the lawyer, or whatever it is. When we're trying to people please or do something for others versus doing it for ourselves, we usually end up sabotaging it because it's not truly in alignment with our internal values and what we really truly want and desire. When there's desire behind it and what we truly want, a lot of times there's more momentum for us to get there, and saboteur doesn't come up because truly inside we really want that. But if we don't feel that we are giving ourselves that space, that self-love, that acceptance, that, hey, I am worthy of this. I'm special too. We're all special, unique snowflakes. There's no one better than the other, but we all are very special, because this planet is a miracle that it's even here and that we're here. So if we can allow ourselves to look at where we are worthy of love, where we are worthy of loving ourselves and receiving love, where we're worthy of receiving that love from ourselves and others for not even having to do anything. So that's the big thing, because a lot of times we think that we have to do something to be worthy. We have to be a good person. We have to be kind. We have to be honest. We have to be patient. And if we don't do these things, we're not good enough. If we haven't been the most, holy person or the most honest person, then we're unworthy, that we need to work harder, that we're not good enough. And again, going back to self-love is the biggest thing, the biggest reason that you could be successful at this or anything else you do in your life. Number one reason is if you love yourself. If you don't love yourself truly, and you're not truly trying to figure out how to love yourself without anybody else's approval, that you're going to really have a challenge there. But if you are looking at, I just want to do that. I just want to love me and take care of me. And, in loving yourself, you will start to be kinder to yourself, and you are also more kinder to others. I think people think self-care is selfish and taking care of yourself first doesn't make sense. It's complete baloney, because the more you can care for yourself, the more you can be at peace, and you can have, your cup is filled up. You're ready to go every day. You've done your self-care routine. You're not on empty or on autopilot because you're so drained that you can show up more for your loved ones, for your family, and then continue to show up for yourself, because you have the energy to continue with your sleep, your routine, or your eating routine, or your exercise or movement routine, or whatever it is. So I can't say that enough, that self-love is not selfish. And it's the most important thing that we can ever do in our life that makes the biggest difference in the world, that loving ourselves. So we have to look at all the places we've been told that we're unworthy unless we have these things. And specifically, our culture teaches that we're unworthy because of maybe our race or our gender or our age. You need to do this stuff to be worthy of this. You need to have accomplished this. You need to have this piece of paper first. In certain circumstances, you can't be a doctor if you don't have the piece of paper and you don't have the license, of course, yes. But it's not about worthiness. It's about training. So there's a difference. So let's just look at that. That's something that's really important to look at. Now, when we talk about this first module, we talked about that number one. I'm going to go back and show you the slide again, just for visual. That first one is emotional metabolism. That's what we're talking about here. So balance, you can see how this is balancing in yourself as far as emotionally giving yourself love and then giving it to others. So it's a balance. It's not too much loving yourself and too much loving others. It's balance. Because if you're not overworking and you're not under recovering, you're getting enough recovery and you're getting enough good time of work and play, balancing that, you're going to have a balance in that part of your in your aura in that way. You're going to have a really good balance in the overall colors. And if you're feeling worthy of love, you're going to have more balance in the energy field. Now, balance in this, what it looks like for the saboteur in the emotional metabolism department, is the balance of giving and receiving. So imbalance would be like giving too much, putting yourself last versus taking time for yourself and self-care. If you are having too much of a fast pace and versus being steady with your pace, if you're skipping nourishment, skipping meals, skipping any sort of self-care, that is absolutely a sign that you're going to be setting yourself up for sabotaging whatever your goal is. If you're on edge emotionally and you're not processing your emotions, again, that emotional metabolism, if you're not metabolizing your emotions and avoiding them through overworking or under recovering, or not even just, seeing a counselor or journaling or praying, or again, your situation's different. How what the intensity of your emotions are, and are they fleeting? Are they just there, for a short time, or they've been there for a long time? You only know that. And if you're on edge all the time, you're not going to be able to be you're going to be less likely to stay focused and on track and not procrastinate in all the ways that sabotaging yourself comes up. So if you're also feeling unworthy, that's that last one. Worthiness is something that's our birthright. You are worthy and deserving of love. You are worthy and deserving of success. You are worthy and deserving of your greatest dreams. You're worthy and deserving of creating your own heaven on earth. And I can go into what that really means, because heaven on earth is something that you might have your own dogma or your own belief structure around what that really means. But what I mean by that is creating the life that you were meant to live. I don't believe that spirit puts on our hearts a desire that's truly a desire ours, not the culture that's been programmed into us of we should have the shiny cars and all the things. Nothing wrong with having the shiny cars and the house and all that stuff, but the physical things. But if you are feeling like called and it is on your heart, I have a passion to perform, I have a passion to help children, I have a passion to whatever it is, I don't believe that spirit puts that on our hearts without a reason, I should say. That we are worthy to live that dream, that is our heaven on earth, by living what our calling is. And if we feel unworthy, that we have to do something first to get that. Now, along the way, you may have to go to school to do something or get a training, but we are worthy and deserving of expressing who we are without apology. And in doing that, we don't have self-sabotage come up in that particular way. We feel like we have to prove ourselves or do something different or learn another lesson or go to another class. It's interesting because I feel there's a lot of people that I meet a lot of health coaches that go to training and they get their health coach certification, and then they continue to sabotage by saying, I'm not worthy yet, I'm not good enough yet. And they overwork, meaning over focus, maybe not working with clients, but working with going and getting another training or another book they're reading. And they're trying to continue to push instead of recovering from that big training they originally did, getting some clientele and starting with where they're at. And they just continue to try to, say, I'm not good enough yet. I gotta learn more. I got to get to the next training, and then I can, and they just never help people. And I feel like that's something that's not just with the health coach profession, but it's with any helpers. A lot of helpers do that. They don't feel worthy yet. They don't feel deserving. They have to accomplish something else first before they feel that they can do what they're here to do. And that's just self-sabotage. So some affirmations that can be helpful. Again, each affirmation has to feel true to you. Affirmations are bullcrap if they're not feeling true to you. If you feel like this is not, I don't know, I don't feel like I'm worthy of success. I don't know if I feel I'm worthy and deserving of love. If you really have that underlying feeling there, then we always have to shift and change your affirmation or your mantra or whatever it is you're telling yourself that makes sense for you. If you're feeling reluctant and don't feel it 100% when you say out loud, I'm worthy of success. If you don't feel it, then you change that affirmation. And that's, of course, where you work with a coach one-on-one or work with me one-on-one. We customize your affirmations for you and we make it something that makes sense. Like, I'm ready to feel worthy of success. That's a real statement, maybe that can feel real to you. And that's a better step than just saying, I'm worthy of success and not really feeling it or believing it, or like feeling an emotional pull to that affirmation and feeling like, yes, there has to be a conviction and a strength behind it, because the emotion behind it is what's the most important thing, the feeling it to be true for you. And so sometimes people use affirmations where they try to say them over and over again until they believe it's true. And it actually works the opposite way. Sometimes you have to shift an affirmation, because really that's what we're doing. We're going to talk about that when we get to the module that relates to how we express ourselves and our negative self-talk. That one, we're going to talk more about affirmations and how we are always having internal dialogue and mantra. I call them our little mantras and our internal monologues that are continuing to cycle in there. We have certain phrases or words or things we always are telling ourselves. And we'll get to that. But again, most importantly, the first day we're starting with is to keep you going on this journey for this next 7 days. You have to know that you are worthy and deserving of this change. You are worthy and deserving of all things without even having to do anything. When you meet a baby for the first time, isn't it worthy and deserving of love and it has to do nothing? It just poops and cries and drinks food or drinks milk all day. So that is also still you, even though you have an adult body. You still are worthy and deserving of love and success and peace and calm and joy. So that is very, very important. And you're worthy and deserving of that you don't have to overwork and under recover. You deserve to have balance between both. So look at those affirmations and see if those feel right for you. You can work with those. You can tweak them. You can change them around. You can say them every day. You can write them down. Tomorrow, write them down 10 times, say them out loud tomorrow all day. You can do anything you want to with that. I'm worthy of success. I'm worthy and deserving of love. Or it feels good to take care of me. So as you go throughout the rest of the day, there's a couple for today's content. There is a meditation, and then there, of course, is the journal prompts, and you can say this affirmation as much as you want. So that's what really each day will be about. Tomorrow we're going to revisit the next module, which is the next is our energy metabolism relating to around our personal emotions about ourselves, our self-confidence. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to look at these balanced and imbalanced attributes again when it relates to that particular module. And then we have journal prompts there and affirmations for that day. So each day, as you see kind of here, what we'll be doing is we'll be going through each of the energy colors and that we see in the aura and how those particular ones have imbalanced and imbalanced attributes relating to self-sabotage. So this is a place where I'm going to stop and see if you have any questions. This is a pretty long first day. Tomorrow will be a lot shorter. Miss Vicky? So we'll really just be going over a slide like this and some journal prompts and then some live coaching, but lots of information for the first one. Give you time to ask some questions. Type those up. If you don't have questions, that's fine too. Just let me know so I can make sure I'm helping you out. The slides will be available at the end still. So I will have a recording of this. I can probably put the slides up on the platform, but what I'll do is that might take me a little bit to get that up because I have actually my slideshow for the entire week under one slideshow. So I'd have to separate it into different slideshows for each day. And I can absolutely do that. But I probably won't have it done until next week. So the recording of this will be once we're done this recording, it's going to render down, and I have to upload it to the platform, and I have to give you log on and all that to get logged into the platform so you can access the recording and to watch again if you want to. I know this one's a really long one. I probably will be putting it up there, and then I'll be separating that out. So after the end of this course, Vicki, if you ever revisit this first video, which is the long one, will be separated into like 3 different videos so that people can chunk it and watch a little bit at a time, and then keep going through. But if you do want to revisit the recording, the slides will be on there. And then of course, at the end of this 7 days, I can take the slides show and I can separate it out and then have it up on the platform. So I hope that will help you. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate. I'll get it done sooner, but actually that's a way I could set myself up for self-sabotage. It's a very common way we do that, where we commit to something that we don't have time to do. I used to do that a lot. And it was a way I would sabotage a goal. I'd be like, oh, I can do that. And then I'd be doing so many things at once, and then I wouldn't be able to get it done. And then I'd let myself down or disappoint someone. So what I'll do is I will not self-sabotage. It's a good lesson I've learned. That's why I shared that example. And I will hold my boundary. See, that's a good one for you, right? That people pleasing. See, part of me is like, I want to help. I want to make sure you got all the things right. But that's a really good modeling for you of what it looks like to say, oh my gosh, I really want to help you because I'm a people pleaser as a helper, right? A little bit of that, but I can hold a boundary and saying, like, even though like that would be really helpful for you, I can help you out till next week with that. So hopefully that helped you as an example, like a real life, actual example live right now of how that might potentially could come up if you were in this position as the people pleaser that you were sharing, that's one of the things you're challenged with, of a way you could handle it. So cool. Hopefully that helps. All right. So here is the day 1 journal prompts. Each day, keep it simple. Keep it simple with these journal prompts, because again, it's going to be a video, meditation, and journal prompt to check out and make it fun. Block your time out to make it a time where it's for you, that you get to do these journal prompts. You get to maybe put on some music, get yourself a cup of tea, burn some incense, light a candle, whatever you really like to do. Make it your special time that you can really allow yourself to get rid of the distractions. Make sure the kids are in bed. None of the pets or anyone's bothering you. Although my kitty loves to like sit on my notebook whenever I try to like journal. So I always try to avoid that and like set him out of the room, even though I love him. But when I'm having my time, it's again, eliminating distractions. So again, keep it simple with your time. You don't have to take a whole lot of time to do it. Yeah, I like to give myself an hour, but honestly, with these journal prompts, you should be able to do this in maybe 20 minutes, but some of the questions might maybe be longer. But to avoid self-sabotage, you don't want to say, well, I have to spend, this much time doing it each day. And again, with the recording, if you're watching the recorded version of this course, you can take as many days as you want. And that's the best thing about having a recorded course like this, that you don't have to be on time with it. And even if you are here at the live course, take your time. If you're not ready for day 2 yet, you can still come back and watch the recording and join live, and then do the journal prompts for that day, maybe 3 days later. So just to be aware, because that perfectionist persona of the saboteur can come up and say that I have to do all the homework, so to speak. This is your program. You've purchased this program. You can do this at your pace. Don't let that inner saboteur come up as the perfectionist and say you have to do it right and be the overachiever. And then that kind of thing. So overworking and under recovery, as far as the first way that it comes up with this particular module, we talked about that in the last couple slides, but just let this journal prompt take you into yourself, asking yourself what ways you overwork and under recover. Make a list of self-care practices that you can realistically add into your life at this time. And maybe a list of self-care practices you already have, because you don't want to be focusing on that negative voice of the saboteur and come up and be like, well, I don't do that, and I don't have these things. No, focus on the things you want to improve, but also focus on the things you already have that you really like about your self-care. And it may be something small, as far as it could be really small too, depending on where you're at. It could be like, I have chapstick, and whenever my lips get chapped, I put chapstick on. That seems like a little thing to some people, right? But for you, if your self care has been so lacking for a long time, there needs to be no guilt or shame with it, because we don't always have the space or time until we recognize in a program like this that maybe this is a priority for us now. And so there's no shame or guilt needing to be associated with it, but you can put something down like that and really congratulate yourself. Like, I put chapstick on every time I have chapped lips. That's a big deal. Or I have a water bottle that I take around with me every single day, and I fill it up and I drink 2 of them, right? That's great. You may not be getting to the gym or whatever it is you want to be doing with your diet or lifestyle in that particular area, if that's a goal, but you can congratulate yourself for the areas you are successful in. So remember, keep it simple. Block your time out every day, whether you're going to do it in the morning or in the evening this week for these 7 days. What time are you going to be doing this, that you're not going to be distracted, that you're going to have it on your calendar or on your phone, so that you can commit to this and say to yourself right now, I am committing to this 7 days. I'm committing to this 7 days. Even if it takes me 14 days to get it done, I am committing to this 7 days. And I find it very helpful if you are one that sabotages, meaning in the area that you don't finish things. Maybe you're not a procrastinator. Like, maybe you procrastinate, but when you start things, you finish it. But if one of the ways you sabotage yourself is by not finishing things, I'm going to say it to you again. If you're out there and you're saying, I don't usually finish things, I start things and I don't, I'm saying it to you directly. You would be very, very benefited if you could write yourself right now a little contract to yourself. I state your name, fully commit to the next 7 days of this particular detox, and write it like a contract and sign your name and date, and give yourself, what you will do when you do it. Give yourself a option that when I complete this, I'm going to go and buy myself a new outfit or whatever it is. Write yourself a contract and say, I commit to this. I think it's really important because saboteur can come up in that way too. So number 4, of course, after making it fun, keep it simple, block your time, make it fun. Number 4 is reach out for help. Please make sure you have a helper, a counselor, a coach, someone you are working with, a family member, maybe a friend you're doing this program with. Make sure you have that. You can reach out to our community as well. And keep in mind, as always, we have the disclaimer at the beginning, if there's anything that's going on that's a little bit beyond our scope as far as coaching, and it's more of a psychological in nature, we will refer you to the correct professionals, but make sure you still reach out for help. And if you're not aware of what that is, maybe we can help you get those correct resources. But please be aware that this is supposed to be fun. And when you make it fun and you make it special with including candles and smells and music and all the good stuff, it really does make it enjoyable. And this is your time. So for day 1 journaling, look at there's a couple journal prompts on your PDF, as you will see. Maybe look at what areas you really want to congratulate yourself with. And there's always tips each day and lovely quotes that you can check out as well. So I hope that helps you for your first day, getting to know all these different personas that came up for your saboteur, looking at the symptoms of it and the different modules that we're going to go over the next 7 days, the different ways that we metabolize energy and where we could be having our saboteur come up. So that's what we'll be focusing on every single day, a different module every day. Remember, your daily groove is, if you're watching this recorded webinar, you're watching a video every day. It'll be a nice little video, a little meditation for you to do, your journal and your affirmations and your tracking sheets. And again, don't forget the tracking sheets. They're very important. They're really helpful for us if we are needing to look at how we were feeling before a particular meal. If we were feeling emotional, we might have certain cravings because of that. And that might relate to why we procrastinated, because we didn't have enough fuel, or we felt that we overate and we were overloaded, so we didn't have the energy to do it. So those tracking sheets are really helpful, and I encourage you highly to use those. And then, of course, on the platform, make sure you check in with the private community. There is a link there to connect with the community of people who have gone through this program that you can chat with, you can connect with, and I highly encourage you to do that. And then lastly, for tonight, or today, or whenever you're watching this recording, of course, that it's about progress, not perfection. Be aware of when you compare yourself to others, to your past self, or where you want to be, where you feel like you should be. Be aware when you compare, because when it comes with any obstacle we have in our life, any toxin, as I call them in this program. If you join the Mind Body Detox lifestyle, we talk about toxins, or our obstacles or blocks. We call them toxins. If we have them and we have guilt or shame about them, we perpetuate behaviors that consistently bring them back or consistently have them surface in our life. It's about accepting ourselves where we are. And again, it's about progress, not perfection. That if we allow ourselves to be fully in who we are and say, yes, I have this right now. This is who I am. I have this particular toxin, and this is what I'm looking to overcome. That particular mindset can really help you progress and not be caught up in the emotions of guilt or shame that continue to perpetuate the behaviors. So, and as always with this journey, with this Mind by Detox journey, and again, it is a lifestyle. It's an amazing lifestyle to really create transformation in your life. It is about enjoying the journey. So enjoy this journey, enjoy your first day, taking time with you, with your cup of tea, your music, whatever you do to get yourself cozy and to answer these journal prompts and listen to the meditation. And we will see you again tomorrow. All right, Miss Vicki, that is the end of today's content. We're about 10 minutes over. I apologize for that, but I'm here to answer any questions you may still have. And then I'm going to go off when we're all done here. I'm going to get you the information for the platform. I'm actually going to just show you real quick, because anybody who joins this program after the live, of course, will basically you'll get a login. We have an online course platform. You'll get a login. And since you already paid, I'll give you a coupon code that you can, because it's going to cost something, but since you've already paid, you'll just get to log in for free with the coupon code, and you'll be able to access the course. And in the course, as of after this, this recording is rendered and I can upload it to the course, you'll be able to log in here, and this is what it will look like. And you'll be able to see the PDF, which you have printed. And if you don't print it, here it is. You'll have it. You'll be able to download it there. And then the first video that we just recorded will be on this first lesson. And then each day will be right here. You'll be able to access day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And each day you'll be able to access the video recording. So for you, tomorrow, I will send out another Zoom link for you to join us live, and as well as Miss Mimi. And we'll go over a slideshow and all that. But in the interim, you'll be able to use this platform to get the meditations and the journal prompts you already have, since you printed this out for the entire week. But what I'll be doing is, if you may notice here that some of these journal prompts have very little space to write. That's something I've been playing with in getting feedback from my students to see, like, how much room do you want to write this? Because I personally like to have a journal and just look at the journal prompts and then just like write down the answer, in my journal. But some people really like the lines. So I was always trying to figure out how much space do people need? I could write forever, and I have a feeling you're a journaler too, right? You said that you probably have like a lot of space that you write. So I'm just looking to get some feedback on that at the end of the week, to see if there's any particular day that maybe would need more space. But if you feel called to immediately just write in a journal instead of write on these sheets, that's fine too, because you'll have the printout, which is 32 pages. But what you can do is you can go to each day, and it will have right here. Whoops. Ooh. Wrong thing. It'll have the video recording from today, and it will look like this, and then we'll have the attributes and the affirmation, and there's that'll be the meditation. And here I'll basically take all of the journal prompts and put them right here. This is just a consolidated version of it. Instead of the lines in between each of the journal prompts, they'll just be written here. So you can just look at the platform and write in your journal, listen to the meditation, and check out the video when, of course, it's uploaded from today, from after today's course. Do you have any questions about that, Miss Vicki? Oh, I'm so glad to hear you're excited. Okay, Pat, perfect. And just please feel free. Now, this week, I will have you reach out to the email address that I sent you the email from. If you have any questions, that my receptionist, Vicki, The other Vicky, your Vicky counterpart, she's an IE though, instead of a Y for her spelling. But you can reach out to her if you have any questions. And she can, of course, let me know that I need to contact you, because I do have a pretty full book of clients this week. So I apologize. I will do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. But I'll be doing a lot of clients and then going home and doing the dinner and the family thing, and then coming to tonight at the 7 p.m. Time slot for our class. So if you have questions, I will get back to you as soon as I'm able to, but you can always reach out via email to Vicky, and then she can forward those to me. So sure. So where we can access the slides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the slideshow as well as the recording for tonight. I'm going to upload it to that platform. It may take till tomorrow, because sometimes the video, since it was a long video, it was a 2-hour video, it might take a long time to compress the file down, and then I can put the slides up there, but it may take me a little bit. So just so you know that they will be up on the platform. So the platform that I showed you, I'll show you one more time. It should be up there tomorrow evening at the latest, and then it will be up there for the rest of the week. So you should be able to go on here when you go to when you log in. I'll give you the login and password and stuff, or not the password, a login and a coupon code to get the course. You'll be able to access it there. I hope that makes sense. I can answer any more questions if you have anything about that tomorrow. Okay. All right. Any other questions, Miss Vicki? Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Well, you have a fabulous night. I will see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock, and wait for that Zoom link. I will send that out sometime tomorrow for the link to join. And I hope you have a restful evening and enjoy those journal prompts tonight. And I'll be there to answer any questions you have tomorrow. All right. Thank you so much, Miss Vicki. Have a good one.